Hello. Welcome. Sorry, things are just being difficult today. But hi, welcome to the stream. It's great to have you here. Give me 1 second. I will get the captions going because they aren't. Okay, I think the captions are on now. So that's a good thing. Wow, I hope everything is working correctly. I hope you're hearing music, and I hope you can see me. I literally tripped over a cord a few minutes ago because things are just hectic right now. Also, you may have noticed that for most of the countdown today, you got a preview of Saturday's countdown. We are not doing the radio station today. That's Saturday, which is part of why things are hectic, is because I'm trying to also prep for that one. Hang on, I've lost control of the overhead camera. I'm trying to get that back, but I can talk to you while I hope that that works. As I have gotten prepared today, I have had internet randomly quit working on one machine, and then video just dropped on my camera, and now this camera doesn't want to work, so I'm going to have to stand up and restart the camera. And it's just been, yeah. Wait, I'm much closer to the bridge today. Oh, yeah, different graphic. You mean like the Torg bridge? It is a different graphic than the one that I had been using previously. All right. While I continue to see if I can get the overhead camera working, I have not figured out a solution for if that doesn't end up working. We can go ahead and get started. Let me say welcome and hello to Lord Portico. Hannah, it's good to see you. Key Squared, you're only sort of here today, hectic day in the lab. It's been hectic around here too. So I can empathize, but it's good to see you. Hi, Iron Trout. Yeah. So I hope you're all ready to look at some archival stuff today. It's a large collection. I have boxes taking up a lot of space, but that also means I have extra shadows, causing some difficulties with green screening out the background. There, that's better. It's all good. Also, it is warm in here, so you may hear some fan noise, and I apologize if you do, but so that I don't fall over from heat stroke in this room, there's going to be a fan going. Anyway, we have a couple things to do before we dive into today's episode, which is part 3 of our high energy physics series. And today we are looking at a collection from the International Archive of Women in Architecture. And yes, it is related to high energy physics. So let me start by welcoming you all here. If it is your first time here, I am Anthony Wright de Hernandez, Community Collections Archivist here at Virginia Tech, and we're coming to you live from the second floor of Newman Library. And this is a weekly show that I stream out on Twitch to both the library's channel and my personal channel, so you may see me responding to chat from either one. The microphone is peaking. Of course it is. That requires me to stand up and walk over there for a second. So I will correct that. Whoop. I took the wrong path. We're good. We're good. We're totes good. Let's just drop. Okay, this should be better, I hope. I can even bump it down slightly more there, and that should fix that audio problem. Thank you for letting me know, and let me know if it continues to be an issue, and I will make some more alterations. Yes, better. Thank you. Do let me know if the music ends up being too loud now. Anyway, this is a weekly show that I bring to you from the archives and special collections here at Virginia Tech, where we look at materials from our collections. And the last Wednesday of each month, starting this year, we've been looking at, awesome, thank you, Hannah. We've been looking at materials related to high energy physics because I discovered that we had quite a few and it seemed like an interesting topic. So that is what we are doing today. We're going to look at some high energy physics stuff, and I am going to steer us towards actually getting to content. We do have the university's land and labor acknowledgement that we want to take a look at just before we get to the actual archival content. We take a look at this every week before we start because we're looking at historical materials, so it's good to pay attention to the history of the university and the commitments that the university has made in order to address that history. Virginia Tech acknowledges that we live and work on the Tutelo and Monacan people's homeland, and we recognize their continued relationships with their lands and waterways. We further acknowledge that the Morrill Land Grant College Act of 1862 enabled the Commonwealth of Virginia to finance and found Virginia Tech through the forced removal of Native nations from their lands in Western territories. We understand that honoring Native peoples without explicit material commitments falls short of our institutional responsibilities. Through sustained, transparent, and meaningful engagement with the Tutelo and Monacan peoples and other Native nations, we commit to changing the trajectory of Virginia Tech's history by increasing Indigenous student, staff, and faculty recruitment and retention, diversifying course offerings, and meeting the growing needs of all Virginia tribes and supporting their sovereignty. Virginia Tech acknowledges that its Blacksburg campus sits partly on land that was previously the site of the Smithfield and Solitude plantations, owned by members of the Preston family. Between the 1770s and the 1860s, the Prestons and other local white families that owned parcels of what became Virginia Tech also owned hundreds of enslaved people. We acknowledge that enslaved Black people generated wealth that financed the predecessor institution to Virginia Tech, the Preston and Olin Institute, and they also worked on construction of its building. Not until 1953, however, was the first Black student permitted to enroll. Through inclusive VT, the institutional and individual commitment to Pprs, that I may serve, in the spirit of community, diversity, and excellence, we commit to advancing a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive community. All right, so what are we looking at today? And I will, uh-oh, why are you doing that? It's very strange. Siri keeps popping up thinking that I'm asking for something, and I don't know why. I'm going to have to go into the settings and shut that off here in a moment. But first I want to get this to a place where you can actually see what's going on, and you can look at that while I'm fixing the various technical issues that are happening today. Because, I thought things would go smoothly, and they've chosen not to. Wow. yeah, no, we need to like, Siri, you just need to go away. Because literally every time I said, Siri was popping up. That was not useful. Okay, so we're looking at the Kathleen Cruise architectural papers. And you may say, architecture, that's not high energy physics, and you'd be right. And yet, this collection does have material related to high energy physics as a topic. Because this collection includes material about work that Kathleen Cruise did to design a nuclear power plant, which I think is really fascinating. So architectural design of a nuclear power plant was not a topic that I was expecting to encounter, and it just seems really fascinating, because while I think intellectually, had someone asked me about how nuclear power plants were designed, I probably could have put forward that an architect was involved. But I've never thought about the fact that a nuclear power plant needed an architect. So, the Kathleen Cruise architectural papers concentrate on her work for Pacific Gas and Electric Company, PG&E, in San Francisco from 1964 to 1995. I don't know, Lord Portugal. We did read them. And also, Hannah, thank you for dropping some of those commands in the chat. So, yes. Let's look at the, it has been a week for me, so I can empathize with it's been a day. Also, when we get ready to start looking at documents, I'm going to also have to go off screen again because one of the lights that's supposed to light the documents, I forgot to turn it on, and it's not plugged in. So I will need to plug it in so that I can turn it on so that we can look at the documents. It's been a great start of stream today, y'all. Anyway, let's learn about Kathleen Cruise. I can make this text a little bit bigger because I don't need all those gaps on the side. I'm just not 100% certain how well it will do. Yeah. Not great, but it'll function. Kathleen Cruise is an architect and general contractor in San Francisco, California. She earned an MBA from Golden State University in 1982 and a Bachelor of Architecture from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, Virginia Tech, which is where we are. Also late because in typical fashion, oh dear, Hannah. I'm glad that I seem to have this effect where a customer walks in as soon as my stream starts, because that means that in some way, apparently, I'm helping to make sure you have a customer, because every Wednesday when I go live, you get a customer. I like this. All right, returning to the biographical note, she is an opinion-leading expert in sustainable approaches to the built environment with a specialization in energy. Kathleen has over 35 years of successful accomplishments with a track record of balancing environmental responsibility with sound business practices. She achieves outstanding results in all phases of facilities management, from award-winning design to expert real estate management. Okay, I'm going to have a note about the biographical note when we finish it. Representative projects include PG&E's Energy Center, East Geysers Administration Center, Golden Gate Regional Headquarters, and the San Rafael, Garberville, and Geyserville Service Centers. Cruise was a loaned executive from PG&E to the Department of Energy for the Greening of the White House project, manager of utilities for Stanford University, principal program development for Proven Alternatives, program manager, real estate and facilities with the Microsoft Corporation, and is currently Director of Facilities Management at Fort Mason in San Francisco. This note, I don't think is recent. It looks like it was probably written in 1999, so take with a grain of salt when it says she is currently working somewhere. Hi, Consilians, welcome, and thank you for the resubscription. 24 months, 2 years. That's awesome. Yeah, we've been doing this show for more than 2 years now, too. But this biographical note, I'm fairly certain was probably copied directly from either like the introductory portion of a resume, or like some like Kathleen herself was asked to write a brief bio, because this reads like the sort of bio that you would write when you're going to be presenting at a conference and they ask you for a bio. It definitely reads like something that she probably wrote herself, and what really hit me over the head with that was Kathleen has over 35 years of successful accomplishments with a track record of balancing environmental responsibility with sound business practices. It might be true, but it also sounds like someone applying for a job. I probably would have used that possibly to gather information, but not use that sort of phrasing for a finding aid myself. Anyway, the materials focus on her work for Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, in San Francisco. And we do have all of the boxes here, but we today are going to specifically focus on the materials about the nuclear power plant. Ooh, Hannah, that is not a worry. It's been lovely having you here for most of the streams as is, but I totally understand if you can't make one. And I hope that you have fun with your family next week. Most of the boxes have something in them about the nuclear plant. I don't know that box 1 does. Hang on one second. I have a listing here. Okay, so we've got in box 1, there is an item called Letters to Mr. Edward Reynolds about the high energy accelerator from 1964. Box 2 has a Department of Engineering Research, San Ramon Pacific Gas and Electric Company, which seemed like it was probably related. And then it's really when we get into box 4 and 5, as well as in the oversized folder, which I sadly don't have with me today. But we'll have plenty of stuff without the oversized folder, so it's not a huge deal. Did the music stop? It did. Okay, let's fix that. Oh, I tell you, there's some technical gremlins today. Anyway, you can scroll through here. If you see something that looks like it might be related to high energy physics and you want me to show it today, do let me know. If you see other materials listed that you would like to see, let me know, because if there's enough, we can always bring this collection back for another show and focus on other materials that aren't high energy physics. But today we are going to focus on high energy physics. The Diablo Canyon Power Plant is the primary focus of what we're going to look at today, which is the nuclear plant that Kathleen Cruise worked on. So, I'm going to leave this on the screen for 1 second. I'm going to be stepping out of view because, as I noted a few minutes ago, there's a light I need to turn on, but I need to plug it in first. So give me 1 second while I do that. I'll still be able to talk to you while I do this, I just physically had to move in order to make it happen. Oh, okay, let's see. And yeah, it was just great. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, you know, there's supposed to be another light lighting this tabletop here. Oopsie. Okay, I think everything's good, and we can actually look at some architectural papers now. So, Lord Portico, thank you for the bits. All is chaos, and yes, that is sort of how the whole face thing, how that goof works, is my face disappeared from screen, so you were correct to attack me. All right, I am going to switch us to the top-down view now, and we're going to start looking at some documents. Maybe, if I remember what I'm doing. Aha. Things are broken. Of course they're broken. It's all good. It's all good. It's gonna be fine. I need to fix two things. Because as you can see, it's not working quite right. Anyway, how is everybody today? Bear with me one moment while I fix this. Oh, it has been a day. I hope that you all are ultimately having a better day than I. Oh, come on. Nope, that went backwards. Honestly, okay, and then I just need to do that, and I hope that this works how I think it's supposed to. There, sort of. Nope. Uh-oh. I am breaking things. Wow. You know, I love that we're having a little bit of a tech stream live right now. This is worse than normal. Give me 2 more seconds. I am almost there, and I sincerely apologize. As I've noted before, I do not get to stay in this space. And so what ends up happening is I have to set up the stream anew every single time I move into the space. And it's weird. One would think that maybe it would, maybe some of the things would stay, but they don't. Every time things are slightly different. Plus, I tried to improve a couple of things by trying to get OBS involved, and that added some complication. But it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna be okay. Just fixing my camera cutout here real quick, because it was not great. Oh no, Oh boy. This has been, honestly, one of the roughest starts to stream that I've had. And it's okay. It's not a disaster or anything. It's just that I would have preferred a slightly smoother start. That's all. Oh. You know, that'll be fun. You know, this is just silly. I'm just having a grand old time. I am presently trying, you can't see it yet because I have to hit save before you see the changes that I'm making, but I needed to crop a thing, and the crop, honestly, this tech is not meant to necessarily be used live like this, and so I do my best with it. It is not nearly as good as if everything was just routing through OBS for me. That is not working. Why is that not working? That, yeah, that's what I wanted. Why was that so difficult? That's so, what does everybody think about high energy physics? Hopefully you're excited, because I finally have this fixed. I need an office Tomty to keep gremlins away. All right. The first of the items intended for us to look at today is in box 1, which is over to my right. I know, it's the wrong side. I'm turning to the wrong side to get an item. I am aware of this. It's a large collection. Sadly, I did not write down what the folder number is. You might have a Tomty in the bio. What is a Tomty? Probably wearing denim? I don't know what one is. So we're gonna look for letters to Mr. Edward Reynolds about the high energy accelerator. And Lord Portico, I am hydrating. Thank you. Scandinavian legend, much like gnomes. I will read the rest of that in a second. I have to find these letters. I need to get some documents on the screen. We have had too much technical difficulties. Okay, which folder is it? Oh, it doesn't tell me. That's the problem. The finding aid doesn't tell me the folder numbers. It should be folder 1, except it's not. We've got early work. Folder 2, specifications for the hospital building. Hospital, work for a thesis, list of inspector reports, inspector special, Jansen. Miscellaneous notes by Cruise. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's the last folder in there, not the first one. All is chaos today. From technical difficulties with the technology to now just the finding aid not helping me find things. This has been more complicated than I anticipated today. But here we are. High Energy Accelerator. Letters to Mr. Edward Reynolds about the High Energy Accelerator, 1964. You only learned about Tomties in the last couple of weeks. You always just assumed they were gnomes. So, Scandinavian legend, much like gnomes, super popular right now as far as stuff you can buy, but everyone's calling them gnomes. Interesting. I will have to learn about them. Aha! This looks physicsy! Thank you, Key Squared. Indeed it does. It's an architecture collection, 100%. It's part of the International Archive of Women in Architecture, and yet, high energy physics. So this is from the Office of the Chancellor at La Jolla, in La Jolla. No, of La Jolla? Is it the Chancellor of La Jolla? Okay, I'm confused by that. Just because my brain, processed it wrong. That's okay, it's fine. It's the University of California. I thought so. So it's the Office of the Chancellor of the University of California, apparently located in La Jolla. Way to confuse me, letterhead. February 28th, 1964. Dear Mr. Reynolds, this is in reply to your letter of February 21st, which asked for my comments on a report of the High Energy Study Group of January 2nd, 1964. I've had a chance to read over lightly the report of the study group. I have not had a chance to really study it. I do not anticipate being able to do so within the immediate future. My comments, therefore, are not based on any deep understanding, but for what they are worth, you may have them if you wish. First of all, I do generally agree with the report, as, in fact, I also did with the Ramsey report, which in many ways forms the basis of the present report. I don't know what report they're talking about, but we'll find out, I hope. Thus, I am a strong supporter of the Super High Energy Accelerator, in particular, and to the extent that funding availability permits, I am also in favor of the AGS modification program and the Mason Factory. The Mason Factory sounds really interesting given the previous 2 episodes of the High Energy Physics series, where we definitely talked a bit about mesons, because people were presenting about those at the International Conference on High Energy Physics. I also agree that it is plausible for BNL to close down the Cosmotron for the reasons given. My brain wants to say Beinecke National Laboratory, but I have no idea if that is correct. BNL. Brookhaven National Laboratory. I don't know. I figured out that NL was National Laboratory. I had to look it up. It was Brookhaven. I had to Google. I had to internet search. But we got it. I think, though, that one ought to examine rather carefully whether or not this machine might usefully be given to some other group remote from New York, perhaps in the South, Southwest, or what have you. Items 3E and 3F, which are described more fully in in 10 and 11, are items about which I have myself some fairly strong but rather generalized opinions. I am very much in favor of anything which can be done to make it easier for faculty members and graduate students from universities outside the immediate area of BNL to use the machine. This means that not only must BNL itself make it easier through such things as provisions of shop space, provision of support personnel, provision of adequate living conditions, and so on, but that the distant universities themselves must also, either through their own resources or more probably through federal grants or other forms of federal assistance, make it easier for their personnel to participate. I hope the above may be of some assistance in your further considerations. I have no idea why these letters are in her materials. So that was February of 64, and then the next one is March of 64 from Milton White, professor of physics, director, accelerator project. Let's see what he says. This is the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. I am not super familiar of conventions in 1964 for letters like this, but so this one said Herbert York at the top. That is the person who wrote the letter. But this one says C.N. Yang up here at the top, and Milton White is the person. No, okay, wait. So C.N. Yang wrote this letter. This must be an enclosure from Milton White? We'll find out. We've seen Yang's name before because Yang was an attendee at the conference, the international conference that we were looking at before. Thank you for sending me a copy of the report of the High Energy Physics Group, study group of AUI. What is AUI? That one, not as easy to find out. Quick search did not reveal to me what AUI might be. Oh, Associated Universities Incorporated. And it's here on the letter. Associated Universities Incorporated. We're doing great today, huh? I'm impressed by this thoughtful document and agree with its recommendations. Let me make two comments concerning some aspects of the considerations covered by the study group. The neutrino experiments at Brookhaven in 1962 and at CERN in 1963 have conclusively shown the usefulness and the importance of this type of experiments as a tool to study the weak interactions. Three aspects of the weak interaction are analyzable through such studies. Inverse processes of weak decays and related reactions. For quasi-elastic events, V plus N leads to is that epsilon plus? I am not certain of this formula, but for quasi-elastic events, yeah, I don't know. Is that velocity plus something? Those sound like flavor decays? Okay, thank you, and hi, Sayuri. Subatomic particles. Yeah, it should be subatomic particles. What are flavor decays? I find this really fascinating, but this is so far outside what I studied in school. Flavor changing neutral, what? Flavors. I love that. Subatomic particles have flavors. Flavor also, okay. Flavor in particle physics, property that distinguishes different members in the two groups of basic building blocks of matter, the quarks and the leptons. Thank you, Encyclopedia Britannica. Interesting. I'm not going to try and understand the physics myself today, because that would take too long. In all of these problems, present experiments are limited by the intensity of the neutrinos. In particular, for problem 2, an unambiguous and accurate measurement of the form factors can only be made with hydrogen targets and with a very intense neutrino beam. Higher energies are not particularly desirable, inasmuch as the weak interaction form factors play as fundamental a role in the structure of the nucleon as that played by the electromagnetic form factors. Plans to increase the AGS intensity are very well worth supporting. The recent discovery of the negatively charged omega and the amazing accuracy with which its mass fits into a perturbation calculation has proved very stimulating to the physicists. Because that's definitely an omega, and the minus sign I assume is a charge, so that would be electron, omega electron? Because it'd be, I don't know. I don't know, is something you'll hear quite a bit of. But this is about learning. You only vaguely remember. Omega particle. This is not the Star Trek Omega particle. Not to be confused with the Omega Meson. I wanna know what they're referring to at this moment. Because that is Omega, right? I'm gonna double check. Yeah, it's a capital Omega. Omega baryons are a family of subatomic hadron particles that are represented by the symbol omega and are either neutral or have a +2, +1, or -1 elementary charge. They are baryons containing no up or down quarks. Omega baryons containing top quarks are not expected to be observed. This is because the standard model predicts the mean lifetime of top quarks to be roughly 5 × 10⁻25 seconds, which is about a 20th of the timescale for strong interactions, and therefore they do not form hadrons. The first omega baryon discovered was the omega negative, made of 3 strange quarks in 1964. The discovery was a great triumph in the study of quark processes, since it was found only after its existence, mass and decay products had been predicted in 1961 by the American physicist Murray Gell-Mann, and independently by the Israeli physicist Yuval Ne'eman. So this, what they're referring to in this letter here, was the very first omega baryon discovered. Up, down, strange charm, top, bottom. Lord Portico, if I had a ding command and it worked on this stream. Pretty sure it's been renamed since that point. That's possible, but the omega baryon, there is an article about it in Wikipedia, which is what I was reading from. And apparently omega particle redirects to the omega baryon article. And for disambiguation purposes, it says, for usage of the term in Star Trek, see the Omega Directive, and not to be confused with Omega Meson. And then it goes into the discussion that I was just reading. It is the omega particle, literally. So the recent discovery of the omega particle and the amazing accuracy with which its mass fits into a perturbation calculation has proved very stimulating to the physicists. A major new paradox, which seems to be raised by this discovery. How can the multitude of interactions at peripheral distances not affect particle masses, which the newly observed regularity indicate, are determined only at very small distances in a symmetrical way? I'm sorry, what was that? How can the multitude of interactions at peripheral distances not affect particle masses, which the newly observed regularity indicate are determined only at very small distances in a symmetrical way? Interactions don't affect mass unless at very small distances, and they're not sure why. I think that's what the question, I don't know. You love that the captions turned Omega Mason into the Omega Mason, who I guess is the Mason who shows up late with the coffee and gets stuck doing cleanup at the end of the meetings. Q squared, I'm not surprised. If I was saying Nissan, maybe the captions would get it right, but I can see how me saying Mason would get transcribed as Mason. Amazing how they were able to predict some of those particles. Yeah. I could see why people were excited. I'm still not certain how or why these letters are in her documents. But she was definitely learning about nuclear physics in preparation for the work that she was doing at PG&E. So it is worth pointing out that much of the discussions in theoretical physics in the last few years have demonstrated the usefulness of the concept of strong peripheral connections and of bootstrap mechanisms for the masses of elementary particles. The newly discovered regularities run opposite in spirit to that of these discussions. It would seem that, to resolve this paradox, interactions at very small distances will have to be analyzed better. In other words, one would have to understand the meaning of the symmetry in the very small distances, how they determine the masses, lifetimes, and branching ratios of the particles. I recognize in this discussion a new argument for going to higher energies. So then, okay, now I'm just confused. I've got a 2-page letter from Herbert York. I've got a 2-page letter from C.N. Yang, and I've got page 3 of what appears to be a 3-page letter from Milton White. Pages 1 and 2, not present. Perhaps the above suggestions, sadly we don't know what they are unrealistic with respect to the possibility of persuading a majority of the American physicists to unite to get at least one large accelerator. Even though I am far from being an expert on the ways of government, I believe it is unrealistic at the present time to hope for approval of any significant part of the Ramsey panel recommendations. The more modest proposal, which I am suggesting, backed unanimously and located in the Midwest, should have a good chance of adoption. Here's an opportunity for East and West Coast laboratories to show real statesmanship and leadership for the benefit of all. Unless sectional and technical bickering stops, there is little chance of securing approval of anything. In the above, I have obviously left unsaid a great deal that will eventually have to be discussed. I will be happy to do whatever I can to push forward this proposal if there is any support on the part of my colleagues. So, I don't know if we have any large accelerators in the US. We always talk about like the Large Hadron Collider, which is not in the US. I don't know if there's an equivalent, like, large accelerator here at all. If anybody does know, I'd be interested. I would be interested. I know in Tales from the Loop, the TTRPG, they have a fictional one in like the Salt Lake City area, but Fermilab. Thank you, Obi-Wan. Yeah, because I didn't know, so I'm very happy to have you sharing. Where is Fermilab located? Good thing you came home early. Oh, Oak Ridge is also a collider? I did not know that. Like, I'm familiar with Oak Ridge National Laboratories, but I don't know what they do there. I've only ever looked at them because they hire librarians and archivists, and so I've looked at them from that perspective. But again, this is subject matter that is well outside my general topical knowledge, beyond just having a curiosity. Next up, so these letters, I don't know why, specifically why she had these letters. I presume it had something to do with studying some physics stuff. Let's see, we have, the next item I had identified was Department of Engineering Research, San Ramon, PG&E, 1979. I might skip that one for now. We can come back to it later, unless somebody really wants me to look at it. Fermi's on the outskirts of Chicago, and Brookhaven has one as well. Oak Ridge is one of those top secret squirrel places. You are not wrong. They hire a lot of librarians and archivists there. Fermi is where your professor worked. Black Mesa? Okay, so apparently there are some large accelerators in the US. So let's get looking at this Diablo Canyon power plant. I'm going to pull out box 4. Just not really big ones. Argonne National Laboratory, or, oh, you corrected my pronunciation of this before, and I've already forgotten what the correct pronunciation was. I look at it and I read Argonne, but I think you told me that was wrong. Argonne. Close. I'm close. It has a linear accelerator. And there's the fictional one in Half-Life. We had an accelerator on campus here previously. Did it stop again? Why? What is going on? I truly don't understand what's up with the technology today. The music keeps just pausing itself now. And I'm not doing anything, and so I don't know why. Plus, and like, Siri was automatically turning on, so I had to turn Siri off. It's just one of those days. There are some gremlins in here. Or maybe they're Mogwai. Again, there are no folder numbers, so give me a second while I find the Diablo Canyon Power Plant Site Master Plan, as well as some other folders in here related to the power plant. All right. Site Master Plan, Volume 1 and 2 and 3. I and C. Telecommunications Medical Facility. INC Telecommunications Medical Facility Plans and Specifications, which not directly next to the other one, surprisingly. Thankfully, they do have boxes and folder numbers. That information is just not on the finding aid. Revision. Yeah. Most of box 4 is about the Diablo Canyon power plant, which, considering we're going to be looking at a bunch of stuff about it, if the first folder doesn't give us some background information about this power plant, we will take a look and see what we can learn. Gammasphere. What is a gammasphere? Oh, sorry, Black Mesa. Oh gosh, now you're mixing in fiction with the reality, and you're really getting me going. But I love it. One at Jefferson Lab in Southeast Virginia, but you don't know how big that one is. Yeah, so like, I know there are smaller ones. I wasn't sure if we had anything on the scale of like the Hadron Collider here in the US. Not insequential part of your life around secret squirrel stuff is a surprisingly small community. You worked on mostly experimental aircraft and electronic solutions for the military, but you touch on a surprising amount of stuff at like conventions and things. Interesting. I know my dad worked with like secret squirrel stuff. I still to this day don't know what he did for the Navy. I know he occasionally had to go on big ships, and he messed with their clocks, I think. He did computer stuff. They were going to build one 20 years ago in Texas, but the budget got cut. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at about Diablo Canyon Power Plant is the Site Master Plan, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Oh gosh, and we have a raid coming in from 16-bit Eric. Hello, Whimsies, welcome. Hi, Eric, thank you so much for bringing everybody by. Welcome everybody to Archival Adventures. I am Rogan27, also Anthony Wright de Hernandez, Community Collections Archivist here at Virginia Tech. This is the weekly show where I share archival materials with you all. And because it's the last Wednesday of the month, we're doing high energy physics today in the form of an architecture collection with materials about the design of a nuclear power plant. So that is what we're doing today. If anybody is here who was not already following 16-bit Eric, I highly recommend dropping a follow. Eric has a wonderful community and is a wonderful streamer. I always learn something when I watch his streams, and if you're at all interested in Star Trek or D&D or tabletop role-playing in any way, which the library's channel here has occasionally been involved with, very much a follow that you want. So thank you once again, Eric, and welcome in everybody. Let me say hello to people. Be Open Sky, thank you for the subscription. 4 months total. Amazing, thank you much. Hi, Thorkel. And yeah, everybody else, welcome. I appreciate you popping on over, and hopefully you'll hang around for a bit. And if you know anything about physics, feel free to pop in the chat and let us know what we're learning. Physics is fun. It's probably pun. Yes, okay, so we are going to take a look at this Diablo Canyon power plant that Kathleen Cruise worked on, and let's find out what we can learn. So this is PG&E up in the San Francisco area. So Diablo Canyon power plant, site master plan, Volumes 1, 2, and 3, prepared by PG&E Nuclear Engineering and Construction Services, Architectural Engineering, FM Germano, or Hermano? I don't know. Engineering Group Supervisor, July 1986. Revision number 1, May of 88. So this is from May of 88. And I do not know what a site master plan for a nuclear power plant looks like, but we're about to find out. We have a site master plan for a nuclear power plant in Northern California. Why? Because the architect who designed it went to school here. So approvals and acceptance. Let's see, contents. The table of contents will be helpful. Introduction, that I will want to look at. Section 1, general information. Section 2, purposes of the master plan. Section 3, site description. That'll probably be interesting. Section 4, county and coastal commission guidelines. 5, site development precepts. And then appendices, implementation process, and reference drawings. Drawings will be good, since I, amongst all of the technical problems, forgot to bring the oversized folder up. We'll have hopefully small versions of the drawings instead of the large blueprint type drawings that I would have had. Volume 2 has a foreword and introduction, a character of the area, site survey and constraints, landscape concept, landscape master plan, and parking. As well as site planting standards, site development standards, site development standards. I don't know why Section 7 is given a title twice, but okay. Utilities. And Volume 3, introduction, summary, phased implementation, long-range facilities plan, parking plan, trash management, long-term facilities occupancy summaries, site population breakdowns. Summary of phased implementation. All right. Information and guidelines. Information. Boy, there's a lot of pages before you actually get to some meat in this report. I remember physics being one of your favorite classes in high school, but you don't remember much about the subject itself. The one thing I do remember is about refractive index and my textbook saying it was seldom used in the real world. Yet it's the one thing you use on a regular basis. Well, that just means that you picked a really interesting career, right? Because you get to use the unusual every day. Also, I mean, being a gemologist is just that's a neat career. We have geology stuff. I just don't know if we have anything that would compare. I might have to dig, because, yeah. I don't know what we have that's gem-related specifically. All right, let me see. Background. Site planning for the Diablo Canyon power plant started in 1968 as an interdisciplinary effort led by PG&E's Civil Engineering Department. Prentice French, a landscape architect, participated as a consultant to PG&E. Mr. French helped develop guidelines on landform concepts, treatment of steep banks, retaining walls, exterior lighting, and general aesthetic considerations to integrate structures with the landscape. A subsequent effort to organize a site planning program was initiated by FM Hermano in 1975. It was of limited scope, covering landscaping only. In the fall of 1982, the project recognized a need to formalize a more comprehensive site development program, and FM Hermano Site Development Coordinator was assigned to oversee its implementation. This site master plan has been updated and reissued as a 3-volume set to provide comprehensive criteria and guidelines for site development. The goal is to provide an overall guide for orderly site development throughout the life of the project. At this time, major site planning decisions have been made, and most structures have been constructed. some site constraints and regulatory guidelines presently incorporated into the program description may not have been in existence during the earlier planning stages. Well, that's because you started in 1986 and it's 1988 and you're still not done. And it's nuclear energy. So, not surprised that the things have changed. Physics is the foundation of all other science. I won't argue with that. I will just say that most scientific professions, I can't even say most. I will say there are other scientific professions, Thorkel, that would say the same about themselves. Notably, I would think chemistry. Chemistry would also say that they are the foundation of all other science. And biology or psychology would argue that they're the foundation of all other science because you can't have science without the living creatures that do the science. But I take your point about physics being fundamental. The Big Dig, Physics Edition. You're not wrong, Obi-Wan. That's what it seems. Okay, let's see. Database, no. General information. Master document provides general information. That's what we want. There is so much front matter. So much. Just like... And it's great. It's great that they want to, like, guide people to the right things, but, like, I'm ready to actually get to some of the things. Purposes. I want to see if I skipped anything, because I was talking instead of actually reading. Coordinator. Nah. We got, like, responsibilities. I'm more interested in the actual, like, architecture. Diablo master plan. Shadows, hi shadows. Oh, hi. Didn't see you all over there. Yeah, mathematicians. Science is the academic Ouroboros trying to figure out which came first. Okay. Purposes of master plan. 1. Locate physical development on site. Locate and site buildings, structures, towers, tanks, holding ponds, switch yards, roads, site utilities, parking areas, recreational development, public access, fencing, and other physical features of the site with due concern for functional requirements, expansion, possible future development, and characteristics of the site. Maintain consistency of site improvements. Coordinate all site improvements in a manner that will be consistent with the master plan to assure an orderly and cost-effective development. Establish site development standards. Identify constraints. Establish site coordination process. Identify buildings and open areas. Ooh, this should be pretty good, I hope. Site description. Diablo Canyon, master plan. Step 1, find an earthquake fault line. Step 2, put reactor on it. No! Lord Portico. Actually, I heard there was an earthquake with some aftershocks yesterday, although the numbers that I was seeing, it didn't seem like it was anything that most Californians would comment on, because it was like in the 3.2-ish range, if I remember what I read correctly. But it was in the Southern Bay Area. You just call them earth burps. Okay, the plant site is located on the Pacific coast of California, midway between Los Angeles and San Francisco, in the county of San Luis Obispo. I've never actually tried to say that out loud. I always just read it. I've never tried to say San Luis Obispo out loud. Interesting. The main access gate at Avila Beach, a town located about 7 miles from the plant. That's not an earthquake. this is an earthquake. No, Thorkel, no. You heard of it, but literally nobody commented on it. Yeah, I'm not surprised that nobody commented on it because the article that I saw listed the strengths of the earthquake and the aftershocks, because the earthquake was in the like 3.2 range and the aftershocks were in like the 2.6 range, I think. Which, like I said, that seemed pretty small to even be reported on for California. And it noted that there were like no injuries or property damage, so it seemed like it was. I was actually kind of surprised that there was even an article about it. Obispo is bishop in Spanish. I did not know that, Thorkel. Thank you. We start with mildly amused earthquake status around 4.0. I haven't really ever been anywhere that had one above 2 while I was there. So I've never felt one. The main access, yeah, we read that. And so we have a little map. So San Luis Obispo. Main access is Avila Beach. And this is the property boundary, the dotted line here. So that's the property, and then this dot is where the power plant will be. There's a lighthouse, so it's like right on the water. And so lighthouse, Avila Beach, this is San Luis Obispo Bay, Shell Beach, Pismo Beach, Morro Bay up here. I don't know. I haven't necessarily heard of all these places, but other people watching may be familiar with them. Note, locals to SLO County do not pronounce any of the names correctly. Okay. I lived in eastern Iowa for a while, and the locals there also don't pronounce things the way that I grew up knowing that they should be pronounced. They pronounce them decidedly not the way they're pronounced in Europe. And there are some European names of places. I just learned their pronunciations and used them there. Like Monticello instead of Monticello. You woke up to one in New Hampshire, of all places, was a 5.4 in New York, and the granite slab under New England rang like a bell. Yeah, I believe there are still cracks in this building from the 2011 earthquake in Virginia. Coastal properties are the safest for nuclear plants. Power plant is, thank you, Thorkel. And I do think I had learned that before. Power plant is just what you want to see from apart. Yeah, I mean, shadows, I'm not surprised, honestly, because you want a lot of open space around a power plant. But I also take your point. You led a chemistry class field trip on a tour of this plant? And you went to college at Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo? I did not know that. So this is like, I knew this power plant was gonna be like probably giving you your power, but this is cool. Des Moines versus what? I mean, it's Des Moines, it's not Des Moines, which I hear lots of people not from Iowa say. Iowa and Nebraska, with their very odd pronunciation of things. Yeah, I mean, you've got also Missouri. Like Cairo, Missouri is spelled exactly like Cairo, the city in Egypt, but it's pronounced Cairo. You were a teaching assistant for chemistry students. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna glance at more of this. Feel free to keep chatting. I just might not read all of the messages. Obi-Wan I get it. I can't parse your phonetic spelling of it. My brain just can't parse it. So approximately 750 acres on parcels P and OC field. Let's see. I want to get to some of the actual architecture. I thought it was interesting to know where it was. Ooh, physiography description. That'll be good. He just lived through a hurricane while on vacation to St. Thomas when the earthquake hit Virginia and ended up getting held over in St. Thomas for a week, waiting for flights to become available again. I was in Minnesota when that happened, and it didn't quite reach Minnesota. It reached up into Canada, but it didn't quite get west far enough for us to feel it. The oddest pronunciation you've ever come across was in Mississippi, a little tiny town by the name of Bogachita. And I can see, that spelling with that pronunciation I would not put together. Decatur in Texas is pronounced Decatur, not Decatur, as you expected the first time you saw it. I mean, there's also Decatur, Illinois, which is the way that I'm pronouncing it. So, pronunciation, yay! We can definitely do something like that. A whole stream. We could look at language, possibly. I'm sure we have resources. There's also a Decatur, Iowa, yeah. I don't know why the Illinois one comes to mind for me before the Iowa one. Physiography. The site is mountainous and comes into a steep and rugged incline at the edge of the ocean. Vegetation is generally low shrub growth with some sparsely distributed trees. Passing within 2.5 miles of the plant, the small Coon Creek flows northwest to the ocean, and Diablo Canyon Creek is immediately north of the power block. The coastal boundary of the site can be characterized as scenic, with interesting rock formations and cliffs that rise steeply from the high water line to the marine terraces. Elevation of marine terraces ranges from 50 to 150 feet above mean sea level. Some archaeological resources have been identified within the plant site boundaries. Specific location is described in Archaeological Resources Management Plan draft, dated April 1980. Permanent structures on the site included 2-unit nuclear power generating plant, with each unit consisting of a 1,060 megawatt energy? I don't know what the E in parentheses means in this context. Pressurized water reactor and auxiliary equipment, support facilities, and various site utilities. Decatur, Texas is the real Decatur. Not really Decatur. Texas is, well, it's in Texas. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know what it's named after, any of it. Try not to think about how the U.S. might handle Dubois. I've heard both, Dubois and Du Bois. And both were correct in the locations where I heard them. I can zoom out a tad. You'll see the tape, but you'll see the entire map here. Parcels map. Okay, so this is just like the geography of it. And this black line here is the access road. Comes on in. I've definitely visited some sort of power plant that had a canyon with a creek in it. I don't remember where, though. I remember I was a kid. I remember being scared that the school bus was driving along a road that had like a sheer drop next to it. That map made me think of it. Guidelines. I'm going to skip over some of the coastal and commission guidelines, site development precepts. They wanted to provide appropriate landscaping, as described in Volume 2, adequate site parking and outage facilities. Consider human factors in orientation, prevailing wind, glare, topography, and views. So don't just design a building that humans will actually use. Thorkel, I'm not sure. It was either in Virginia or Hawaii, and I don't know which one. There's a road in your tiny Oklahoma town named Bois d'Arc. You should hear all the weird ways it is pronounced by the Boomhauer crew. I assume Boomhauer crew is a reference to the cartoon King of the Hill and the way that the character Boomhauer talks. If I'm wrong, do correct me. I mean, I think if people make a good faith effort and are able to get their meaning across, then what does it matter if it isn't said exactly the way that other people think it should be? Space requirements for outages. I don't understand that. Why are there extra space requirements if there's an outage? Public access to coastal areas. I don't know enough about power plants. I like number 11. Situate permanent buildings so that they form pleasant settings, creating wind-sheltered pedestrian use areas and scenic views of the coastal shoreline and ocean. Promote visual order of site improvements, relate buildings to adjacent structures such as tanks and equipment, as well as to existing landscaping and natural topography in form, style, placement, and color. Building forms should reflect the character of the occupancy, that is, equipment buildings versus people facilities. Avoid appendages where they detract from the overall visual order. So we're getting a little bit of the concept used to design it. Interesting. Let's see. We also have a bunch of other stuff that we can look at. So I'm gonna that's just an overall map. They're not supposed to make wind tunnels? Hi, Puddle Glum, how are you? But you like your appendages. I don't know exactly where the full key is, so I don't really know what we're looking at on this one, so I'm not gonna dwell. This one. Much easier to interpret. Just toss a little beanbag out here to keep it as flat as I can. And we have an overview of the power plant. So you can see we've got Pacific Ocean, and then we've got east breakwater, west breakwater. There's a boat slip here. And we've got a list of permanent facilities. So starting with number 101, if I can find it. Okay, where is 101? It is a power block. Right here. 101 is this big building, and that's the power block. 102 is the I&C/telecom building, which I have an entire folder about, So we'll find out what that means in a moment. 103 is the discharge structure. I don't know what that is, but I assume it has something to do with discharging excess electricity. There's a Shorecliff Road. And like I said, that feels really familiar to me. 104 is administration building. 105 is a security building, if I can find it. 105. 106 and 107, telephone terminal building and meteorological tower number 1 and building. 108, intake structure. Based on where it is, I'm going to assume that intake in this context is intake of water, but I'm not certain. But it's right on the shore. 109 is a training building. 110 110, the sandblasting and spray paint area, I don't see. I do not see number 110. Somewhere there is a sandblasting and spray painting area on this map, but I don't see where it is. 111 is the rotor warehouse. 110 is right there. And then 111. 112, meteorological tower number 3 and equipment shelter. 113, GC warehouse. 114, firing range. Why do they have a firing range at the nuclear power plant? I guess for the guards to practice? I guess I always assumed that they would do that sort of practice somewhere else. Guard practice, yeah. It never occurred to me that a nuclear power plant would need a firing range for their armed guards to practice at. I just assumed that would be elsewhere. 115, DCPP permanent warehouse. 116, Unit 2 cold machine shop. 117, laundry and rad waste building. That I'm not immediately seeing, but it's fine. It's a tiny little building right there. 118, auxiliary boiler enclosure. 119, maintenance shop. 120. 120 is the hazardous waste facility, and I also have not managed to locate that number on the map. It exists somewhere here. We might see it at some point. 121, seawater reverse osmosis facility, which is here. There's 120. 122, GC fabrication shop. I don't know what GC is, but there's the fabrication shop. There apparently is no 123. 124 is sewage treatment plant. 125, fire, water tank, and pump house. 126, GC permanent office building. I don't know what GC is, but they've got an office building. 127, flammable liquid storage building. out here. 128 Hardened Booth. I'm not certain where that is or what it's for. I don't see 128. I'm guessing it is small, because I have had trouble finding all the small ones. 129 is the site access facility. I did notice a leaching field up here. There's a cattle fence, a warehouse, assembly building. 128 is out here. Anyway. Firing nuclear particles. California, so might be hard to find a place for it close by, that's true. And their guards might not be allowed to take that sort of gear off site. The old Federal Reserve building in Dallas has a decommissioned firing range in one of the basements. Sea salt really messes up the equipment. Yeah. 123 is secret. 123, there's a gap in the list where 123 would be. I'm guessing 123, there used to be another permanent building that it became not permanent. Possibly meteorological tower number 2, because there is no meteorological tower number 2 on this list. There's 1 and 3. Let's see. So I'm curious, we saw the building for it, but I want to go and look. Redacted. I want to see what is this other facility. I&C, telecommunications / medical facility. I don't know what it means. What does it mean? Outline summary of architectural and engineering management plan. Okay, but what is I&C telecommunications facility? We don't know. Project summary. Give a project summary, please. There are some phone numbers and addresses, and I don't know if they are still potentially useful or active, so not going to show them. I was looking for a summary. Updated January 12th, 1987. West of Unit 1, Turbine Building. Okay, but what is it? 2-story facility, approximately 27,000 square feet, gross, to house groups presently in trailers and temporary facilities. The old flammable liquids. Oh dear, Obi-Wan. That's funny. DCPP I&C, shop and staff offices, telecommunications equipment, and shop. I don't know what I&C are. Apparently, that is just knowledge I should have if I'm reading this report. Required to provide an adequate and permanent facility for the group. Store telecom equipment. On-site medical facilities required to house the permanent need for first aid and trauma holding during normal operation and during emergencies. Okay, well, so they're making a facility for those. I&C shop. I don't know what I&C shop stands. What is I&C? List of needs. They want to put them in permanent buildings rather than temporary facilities. What do we got? What do we got? I'm going to see if I can find any sort of like drawing. Informational content of images being more dense than text. We've got cost estimates, we've got rough draft work outline, schedules, schematics. I knew there'd be something. All right, whatever I and C is, the IMC/Telecom Shops Scheme D. Thank you, Shadows of Life. Instrumentation and Control Shop. Doesn't mean any more to me than it did a moment ago, but now I know what the letters stand for. All right, we have existing turbine building, Unit 2, existing condensate polishing system, instrumentation and control storage room, tool room, calibration laboratory, document control, shop area, 72 stations, telecom power, .300 square feet, I think that says. I think that's utilities. Toilets, stairs, elevator, telephone, medical facility. Apparently there's a path from this building into the larger one. Loading dock. Huh. This is the second floor plan. Or this is the ground floor, and this is the second floor here. A bunch of the telecom stuff is upstairs. INC admin and engineering area. So just designing a room for them to do their work in. And apparently there's a actual sort of machine shop type space downstairs. But I didn't see the medical stuff on that schematic, and it's supposed to be medical facility too. But I didn't notice that on the schematic. Did other people notice that on the schematic? I can pull out the schematic again and take another look. But I don't know. I'm not going to at the moment because I want to flip through one or two more. Just see if anything stands out as really, really interesting. Construction of specifications for revision of the master plan. That's box 4 stuff. Box 5 also has a bunch of stuff on this power plant. Can you believe it's been almost 2 hours and we're near the end of time? Ooh, yeah. Well, we're not going to take a look at the Nuclear Power Systems Training Guide, which is 4 folders, but it is here as well. But that one's a thin folder. And this one might be slightly interesting to look at. So we'll glance at these to close out what has been part 3 of our high energy physics series. I know we're not really talking too much today about the actual fundamental particles and physics science, because we're focused on the architecture of a building designed to generate power through the use of high-energy physics, otherwise known as a nuclear power plant. Reactor theory is what this tab says. This is the, from 1989, Nuclear Power Plant Systems Manual. Reactor Theory Review by Dick Graham. The table of contents here. Neutron physics, neutron classifications, prompt and delayed neutron generations, delayed neutron fractions, neutron multiplication, subcritical multiplication, reactor kinetics. Let's see, I'm not going to read all of them. Reactivity coefficients and defects, Rodworth, xenon and samarium. I've never even heard of samarium. Applied physics is still physics. You're right. And what's really funny, what I got by just glancing at this, this appears to be from a class that she took, because what I got by looking through these papers in preparation for the stream today is that since she was responsible for doing architecture at a PG&E nuclear facility, she ended up going back to school and studying nuclear physics to learn more about nuclear physics and what the actual nuclear reactor was doing, I presume, in order to be better able to do the architecture related to it, or to supervise the architectural work. But there's like textbooks and class notes in here from her learning nuclear physics as part of her work with the architectural design of this nuclear power plant. You inherited 9 boxes of math books / periodicals from a retired professor at a local 4-year. His son finally cleaned out his attic. Obi-Wan, I am definitely familiar with that sort of experience. I have, I actually shared an unprocessed, now processed collection of computer technical manuals from Gerhard Mansbach. I want to say that was 2 years ago that we looked at that, but it's since been processed. But it was a couple boxes worth of just computer technical manuals from a retired professor. Nuclear Engineering Manual, Initial Training and Retraining Handout, Table of Contents, Chronology on the Development of Diablo Canyon, Sources and Hierarchy, Comparison of the Nuclear Engineering Manuals, Structure to the Structure of a code that means nothing to me, Definition, Important Diablo Canyon Documents, History of QA Program. So this is the Nuclear Engineering Nuclear Engineering Manual training handout. Less interesting than I thought it might be, sadly. But it's still just really, really interesting stuff. Because I've never considered, like, even just looking at that diagram of what the permanent structures were, it made me think, because I had never considered some of those. Names of Diablo, Canyon, Project Management. Yes, Shadows, indeed. I had never considered things like that a nuclear power plant would have a firing range. And so then we had to think about, like, well, why would it? And it's because there are armed guards, and so having a place for them to practice makes sense. I don't know what NEMP means, but Change 98. So this is the March 2nd edition of 1989. Diablo Canyon Unit 2 became operational in 1986. Diablo Canyon project came back under PG&E management, apparently, in 1989. Diablo Canyon project came back under PG&E Quality Assurance Manual. Project engineers' instructions were discontinued. Corporate Quality Assurance Manual for nuclear power plants was split into 2 separate manuals, one for Diablo and one for Humboldt 3. Use of personal computers became widespread in areas including preparation of design analysis. Formal budget and headcount planning and constraints became strong forces. Project management became a force. Cost and scheduling got more emphasis in engineering. Engineering got a new vice president. The records management system management moved from the quality assurance department to nuclear power generation. Okay, that seems a strange move. And the engineering and construction services business unit was announced, effective 1/1/88. Why was records management moved from QA to nuclear power generation? Nuclear electromagnetic pulse, NEMP. Thank you, Obi-Wan. And my brain didn't parse it that way, but that makes so much sense as soon as I read it. Large-scale nuclear EMP. Large-scale nuclear explosions cause EMP, yeah. Records management, systems management is one hell of a corporate sentence. Records management system, management. Moved from quality assurance to nuclear power generation. Still, yeah, it's a heck of a sentence, but also like, why would the records management system management ever be in nuclear power generation? That doesn't make sense to me. Then again, organizational structure doesn't always make sense. For instance, Special Collections and University Archives here at Virginia Tech reports to the same person as the IT department, but when the change was originally made, their title only encompassed the IT department, so we were sort of being moved into the IT department, but it was all leading up to an expansion of the what was encompassed by their title. So for a period of time, we were part of IT, which sounds really strange, but there was some logic behind it. All right, I'm just flipping through this real quick. We are 5 minutes over time, and we'll have to wind down after looking at this document. It was interesting. I had sort of flagged these things thinking like, so that I knew what specifically was related, but I hadn't specifically dug into them. They're not quite what I was expecting, because most architecture collections, we end up looking at lots of architectural drawings, which there were some in the folder that I forgot to bring up, which is the oversized folder. But I think we still found interesting things. I just also realized that I had this, and we could have looked at this stuff, which this stuff would have been the sort of more architectural drawings type stuff that we have looked at previously, but honestly, I was not upset with the things that we were looking at. So I think I'm going to call it there, because I do need to pack up because it is approaching the very end of my day here. That said, before I end the stream, we'll find somewhere to raid and talk about what's coming up for Archival Adventures. And did I think I did, but it says it was 52 minutes ago, and I can't remember. Be Open Sky, thank you for the resubscription. I don't remember if I said that before. If you're still here, thank you very much. Cool nonetheless, fun to see how these projects get planned and such. Yeah, and so this ended up being more like the project planning side of things than the architecture side. So even me thinking it was an architecture related thing, I never know what we're gonna find. But that's kind of part of the fun. So I really have enjoyed taking a look today at the Kathleen Cruise collection. There's a ton more stuff in here. This Diablo Canyon shows up in about half of the boxes, but only like 2 of the 8 boxes is it like half the content of the box. So there's a ton more stuff, and there's a lot more Diablo Canyon stuff that we didn't manage to get to today. So if anybody happens to be nearby or passing through the area or wants to travel here to look at more of this, the Kathleen Cruise collection, as part of the International Archive of Women in Architecture, has these materials, and they are available for the public to come and look at. Coming up next on Archival Adventures this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be live for an hour and a half, streaming from the reading room downstairs. So, slightly different setup than what there is today. Lighting will be definitely not be as good. We'll see what happens. But for an hour and a half, I will be streaming from the reading room downstairs during an open house for the 75th anniversary of WUVT, Virginia Tech's student radio station. The 1st of April is their 75th anniversary. We have an exhibit of historic material about them in our reading room, and so I'll be down there for an hour and a half on Saturday. If you want to stop on by here, that's at 1 p.m. Eastern Time this Saturday, April 1st. Oh, Key Squared. It's understandable. It's like not my normal time. And so if you can make it, great. If you can't, I totally understand. The VODs will be available. It's the first time I've done a special for stream. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully less technical issues than I had today. Next Wednesday, at our normal time of 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be looking at the Alice Langley Shee Papers. And so Alice Langley Shee, honestly, there's a lot of like, I believe this is also going to end up being nuclear related. She's politics, China, nuclear proliferation. Those are the keywords in my brain. I'm looking up the finding aid so I can just, you can tell I'm verbally vamping. Special better not be some kind of joke. It is not, Thorkel, but understandable that the thought might occur. It's the radio station started on the 1st of April. Born Alice Edith Langley, she graduated from Queens College in 1943 and did graduate work at Clark University, Stanford University, George Washington University, and the University of California at Berkeley. She became an international relations officer and foreign service officer for the Bureau of Far Eastern Affairs of the U.S. State Department, 1944 to 45, and was a member of the U.S. delegation to the Far Eastern Commission, 1946 to 52. In 1951, she served as special assistant to the U.S. political advisor to the Supreme Commander of Allied Powers, Tokyo, Japan. And then 55 to 58 served as a consultant to the Rand Corporation. And then she went on to join the International and Social Studies Division of the Institute for Defense Analysis. So we're going to be looking at her collection. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff about China and its capability with nuclear weapons, politics in the 40s and 50s. It seemed like an interesting collection. So that's coming up next week. Going to be off on break, several time zones away. We'll be happy to catch the VOD. Yeah, that is, you're always, I appreciate very much when people stop in, take a look. If you're willing to watch the VODs, I appreciate that too. So yeah, that is what's coming up next this Saturday and next week. Looking forward, our next High Energy Physics series episode will be the end of April, and that one will be focused on nuclear winter. We have a number of materials from, it looks like they possibly are all related to the same conference that happened here at Virginia Tech. I believe in the 1980s? Not certain. Can't remember for sure. But there was a conference about nuclear winter. And I'm gathering those things up for us to look at the end of April. So hopefully I will see you all for a future episode. Also coming up at the beginning of May, we have Kira joining me again, and we'll be talking about Kellogg's. So some things to look forward to. Let me go ahead and set up a raid, and we can pop in and say hello to somebody. Presently, there is an aquarium that has the open sea cam going, or there is Stephen, who we raid somewhat regularly, who has a game called Terra Nil. Puddlegum, it seems like you want to head over to Stephen, and I'm totally up for that. I will go ahead and make that a thing that happens. I moved my keyboard. So, yeah, thank you again, everybody. So much for joining me today. I hope that that this was interesting. I hope it was fun. Well, you'll find out in a moment, Obi-Wan. It is a game that Stephen is playing. Hopefully I do see you all again soon. Until I do, keep exploring history, everybody. My face is still here. It's fine.